Hi, everybody, and welcome to the New Path presentation. My name is Robin Church. I am the New Path Family Support Director here at the ARC of Virginia. And for those of you that may not know, New Path is a family support program that helps families whose child is ages 0 through the age of 4. Who may have a developmental or intellectual disability, and finding resources. So what is New Path? So New Path is a program of the ARC of Virginia. New Path, the ARC of Virginia is a statewide organization that helps support people with developmental and intellectual disabilities throughout their lifetime in the state of Virginia. The ARC of Virginia is also a state ARC of the ARC of the United States. So we provide resources for parents to connect with other parents, which can be very helpful when learning about a child or your child that may have a disability. We provide resources such as information and referrals to families to help them get connected to resources if they're not already connected with resources such as early intervention. We also help them through the process of waiver information if that is something that they're looking for. We collaborate with local systems to provide updated information that is also shared with families, and we also give feedback back to the local systems that we may receive from families looking for some supports. And New Path and the ARC of Virginia also provides trainings to families and systems throughout the state of Virginia. New Path will be providing about 9 this year at least during 2021. And our biggest time is during our convention, which happens typically around August. So New Path, to kind of sum it in a nutshell, it's a place to come together to share and collaborate and support one another to empower families across the state. And that includes families. Families should be at the center of the table at all times when talking about their family needs and the needs that their child may have in order to be successful. So sometimes we get phone calls and interactions with families, and some of you may have even experienced such similar situations where you feel completely stressed out and you're not sure what's going on. When you learn about your child who may have a developmental or intellectual disability, it can be quite scary. It can be quite overwhelming, and not knowing which way to turn or who to talk to or who might listen or even understand what you may be going through. And I think that can be some of probably the hardest parts that families encounter. I know that certainly was the biggest stressor of mine when I found out about my own son. So sometimes, when you're just like, oh my gosh, what have I done? What can I do? No one knows how bad I feel. No one understands what I'm going through. And that is not something that we want families to feel. We want families to know that we are here to help them through their journey, through the whole process. So in today's presentation, now that we're about halfway done, so we're learning about what is New Path, and we're going to talk more about supports for families, the information and referrals and resources that's provided to the families, and provide collaboration for families and providers is what we do. Sometimes we look for families to sit at the tables to share their experiences and talk about their struggles and talk about what's been going on and what's been helpful for them and what has not been helpful for them. I believe that it's truly teamwork when we're talking about families and providers working together. Family friends can come to the table to talk about what's working and what's not working, and their concerns for the family, because sometimes being a parent of a child with a disability may be difficult to see the needs that you as the parent may have. And so that is a very important piece. And sometimes it's great to have friends, close friends or relatives that kind of understand you and come to the table with you to help support you as the parent or caregiver. It's very important. So sometimes, you may find yourself asking these questions, which may raise concern for what you feel may be helpful for your child. Maybe you want to know if they have a developmental disability. Maybe they are not speaking at the age of 4 or 3, or maybe they're not sharing with other children or not learning along the paths that you feel that they should be learning. And that's okay to have those confusing questions. It's okay to ask yourself, what's going on with my child? What does my child need? I'm not sure what's going on with my child. I'm a little afraid. I'm a little embarrassed. What have I done wrong? And so if you do have any of these questions about your child, then please feel free to reach out to New Path. New Path is here to help you through that journey, get you connected with early intervention services or beyond early intervention services. Early intervention services can help provide lots of help with the feeding, with the occupational therapy, and physical therapy, all sorts of stuff. And I think we have somebody here that may be able to talk about a little more of some of that. So New Path is here to help. New Path is here to help you as a family, as caregivers, as anyone that's involved with a family that may have a disability. That's what New Path is here for. We have some supports in place to help families and to help providers as well. And so I'm really excited to share this information. So Mamas and Papas Connection, or MPC, is a support group for parents, and that is a support group where we come together as parents and we talk about what's going good, what our challenges are, what we'd like to see happen, maybe something good that happened this week, maybe something not so good that happened this week. One thing I do like to focus on is for family members to tell me one thing they did to take care of themselves. And we try to make that a priority, to take care of ourselves, because it's very important that we take care of ourselves, our mental health, our physical health, so that we can care for our little ones. We meet every Tuesday at 1:00 in the afternoon. I did send out some information several months ago to get feedback from families to see what time of day better fit their schedules. And believe it or not, I got the 1 p.m. every week. And so if anyone is out there interested, it's this blue flyer that you see here on your screen. You can go to New Path on Facebook, and you can scroll through until you see this flyer, and please feel free to register and join us. That is done. It's done through Zoom. It's done virtually through Zoom, and we just kind of get together and talk about what's going on with our kids. Just to give you an idea, I've had some parents talk about new diagnoses for their baby. I've had parents talking about how their family struggles with things that may be happening with that child. So and we talk about celebrations. We never forget about the celebrations. Every little piece that we have with our child is a celebration, and we can share that. There's nothing too small or too big to share when it comes to our little guys and gals. The New Path Private Supports on Facebook is very new. I just launched that last week, and so it's still in March. So we just launched it last week, and it is called New Path's Private Supports. It's on Facebook. It's very private. Your friends will not be able to see that you are part of this Facebook. People on the outside cannot see who the members are of this Facebook group. And so if you are not able to make the 1 o'clock meetings that we have every Tuesday, we have the private supports on Facebook. And that's just a place for you to come in, and we have support groups there. So we can share information, we can chat with other moms, chat with dads, whatever it is that makes us comfortable. It did just start, so there's just a few of us on there right now. And it is, I'm really looking forward to this, because it's just another way for us to connect with one another, especially now during COVID, when we can't really meet in person. And sometimes we all get a little zoomed out, so to speak. And so it's nice to just go on Facebook at your leisure and just scroll through and just talk to families that may have a genetic disorder with their child. Their child may have autism. Their child may have Williams syndrome, whatever it may be. You will be able to connect with. And so I encourage you to join us there. And for the providers out there, for the early intervention providers, the OTs, the PTs, the case managers, and the speech pathologists, I encourage you to join the Powerful Providers Network. And what we do there is, it's a great place to build camaraderie. You know, it's not just the families going through this, the providers are too. I was hosting a training towards the end of the year last year, and I had a provider tell me, you know, Robin, I wish there was something out there for us, just something out there for the providers, so we can talk to each other and just kind of build up one another and figure out what's working for other people, for other families and other localities. And I said, you know what? Well, let's do it. And so that's where the Powerful Providers came from. It's not a support group, although you may call it one, because I'm not a therapist. But it is a place for the providers to come together. We had talked about sharing, maybe talking about a certain case that is a struggle. We can talk. There's been some interest in splitting people up into break rooms or breakout rooms where the OTs are in one room, the PTs are in one room, the case managers are in one room, and the speech pathologists are in one room. So that way you just kind of get your own support there. So if you are a provider out there in early intervention and you are interested in joining us, we meet the last Wednesday of every month at 6:00 p.m., which is also a Zoom link. And so you can also go into the New Path Facebook page and look for this purple, yellow, and white flyer and register that way. The reason why we have these flyers out is because this allows you to fill out a little bit of information about you, whether you're a parent or a provider, and you can provide your email to us. And we welcome you with an email in return, and then we send you the link to join us on these discussions. So if you are, once again, if you are a provider, please feel free to join in. You can email me or call me. My information is at the bottom, I believe, of both of these. And so please feel free to reach out to me through phone or email, or if you can find this link, I can get it out to you. Also, for those of you that are maybe watching right now, if you would like to put your information in the chat or contact Alexis directly, and we can get your email and send you the information that way, that would be fine. So for future trainings or anything else that's coming up with the Arc of Virginia and or New Path, these are ways that you can reach out and connect with us. So we have, the Arc of Virginia has a Facebook page, and New Path as well. And then we also have our website, thearcofvirginia.org, and New Path is a program of the Arc of Virginia. So it's thearcofvirginia.org/New Path. New Path Early Intervention. That's what the EI is for, is early intervention. And we also have, so for our future trainings or webinars, what have you, you will see them on Facebook or our website. If you're looking for something that's already been presented, you can look up the Arc of Virginia. We have our own YouTube page, so you can look at all trainings there. There are really some fabulous trainings on there still. Lucy Cantrell, one of my co-workers, has a presentation on waivers, presentation on what to do while you wait for the DD waiver. So if you are interested in looking into more of that information, please, it's very detailed PowerPoint that is there on YouTube. So please feel free to go onto our YouTube page and see what's out there for information that you might want to take a peek at. Okay. So I might be done a little sooner than later. So if anyone has any questions, I do appreciate your time and listening to me and learning more about New Path and the Arc of Virginia. And if anybody has any questions, and please see that my contact information is there. My name is Robin Church, New Path Family Support Director. That is my phone number here at the office and my email. So please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Okay, so Alexis, I still can't see anybody, and I don't think I can share my screen. Can you see me?
I will have Robin, if you don't mind to stop sharing your screen. Yep, now you should be able to share your screen, Ms. Strickland. All right, there you go. Thank you.
Oh, great. Okay. Hi, everybody. First of all, Robin, that was great. I had no idea about any of that. And look forward to seeing your contacts and the stuff on YouTube so that we can share it with the families, because we are the first contact for many, many families in Henrico. So I was so excited to hear about how you're supporting families, because I think that's always been kind of that weak link that we've had an organization that can pull families together like that and give them those supports. So what I'm here, hi everybody, I'm Allison Strickland with Henrico County Public Schools, and I coordinate our early childhood special education program. And I'm just going to give a really broad overview of the process if you have some concerns with your child's development. Okay. Let me go back one. Okay, so what is early childhood special education? It really is just a fun, engaging, learning environment that we have for children that are found eligible and qualify for special education in Henrico County Public Schools. So we use specialized instructions. We have master level teachers that really focus in on ways to build and develop skills for our little ones. And the goal is that smooth transition to kindergarten. So that's really what our goal is. So who receives services? Well, any children from the age, if they're 2 by September 30th, to start of their kindergarten year. And we work with the little ones that do experience a significant delay. And we also have to make sure it's their delay or difference isn't a result of cultural factors, environmental or economic disadvantages, or English proficiency. So those are things we have to consider when we start this process, and that the delay has an adverse effect on educational performance, which for our little ones means some of the things Robin talked about, how they participate with other children, how they're able to communicate, things like that. It's not really educational performance at this age. So here is kind of the overall process. The first thing is the referral, and that's just basically a parent. I'll go through each of these. Who can make a referral? Anyone, a parent, a physician, a provider can refer a child. We get a lot of referrals, and we partner with our early intervention here in Henrico. So that's a nice transition process that we have developed over the years. One thing to know is when a daycare provider or someone like that calls us, we're going to ask them to please speak with the family about it and make sure you're aware and provide our information to you, because the parent really is the one that has to sign permission for anything we do. So why would you refer a child? If you have any question at all about development, then go ahead and make that phone call, because we have lots of discussion and there's a number of steps to this process. So if you have any worries at all, start the process, because they may be alleviated once you start talking to the professionals on the team. So what information do we need? Just your basic information, your name, address, child's name, contact information, and what your concerns are. We have in Henrico, the way we're set up is we have 3 different early childhood special ed evaluation teams. And so it's based on your home address, which team you'll be working with. So we hope that you don't have to travel very far distances to meet with teams. So once you've made a referral, then we're going to have that initial meeting. And basically an initial meeting is just a discussion. It's getting to know a little bit about you. So what we talk about there, and at that meeting, our participants are an early childhood special educator, a speech and language therapist, an admin, and then whoever else we think needs to be sitting at the table to ask the right questions and gather that information and make some decisions. So we often may have a school psychologist or a school social worker or an OT, or we always have a speech therapist. So it really depends on what you've initially said, what your concerns were. And so we talk about that. What are your child's strengths? What do they do well? What do they like? What are your concerns? How about when they're out in the community? And then based on all of that, we are going to make some decisions on evaluations that we feel we would need to complete to document if your child has a disability, because this is special ed. So really that initial meeting is, do we suspect a disability, yes or no? And if we do, we are going to talk to you about different evaluations. There are times that we meet and everything looks good and we're able to give you some home programming and some resources and everything's good to go, but our door is always open for referrals. Again, we have to get parents' permission for anything that we are going to do. Types of evaluations we may do. Special ed, all of these things cover from age 2 till age 21 in Henrico County. So some of these things would not be appropriate for our youngest ones, but the children need to be tested by qualified personnel. So it's all people that are good at what they do and they know the instruments they're using. So for our littlest ones, I'll give you a couple of examples. Typically, the things when they come to us, the concerns are oftentimes very much in the area of communication. And when talking to a family, if that's the only area that we see some concerns, then we'd just be looking possibly at a speech and language concern. The components for that would just be a hearing evaluations, which we have to do for any child going through the process, and we have our own audiologist on staff, and a speech and language evaluation, and a parent interview or developmental checklist with the parent. If there's more global concerns, there's worried about social interactions, the ability to follow verbal directions, some of those self-help skills, then we're going to look at a developmental. And really that is just a standardized tool that looks at 5 different areas of development. Again, we have a wide variety, but each child's individualized. So when you're working with that team, they will be able to talk to you about what's needed and why it's needed. Okay. So at that initial meeting, when you're talking about all this, we decide which evaluations we need to complete. Then at that meeting, we're going to start setting those up. We will go ahead and set up the hearing. And if, say, we're doing a speech and language, the speech therapist may set it up then. If we're doing a developmental and a speech and language, they complete those together because these are little teeny kids. And so then we work together with a child, so it's one appointment then. If a child has mobility issues, we would invite the physical therapist in with us during that evaluation. One thing to know about the evaluations are they're very developmentally appropriate. The children are playing with blocks and pictures and toys. We're laughing, we're rolling a ball, things like that. So it's a fun experience. Most children love being there, not all, but a lot of them. And some of them start crying when they have to leave. And we've seen that especially with shutdown because they're in a fun classroom with lots of different materials. So we work really hard to make this as engaging as possible to get the best results we can. If a child's out in the community in a child care center, we may go out and do an observation so that we can see some of that natural environment and what's going on there. So once all of those evaluations are complete, we come to the eligibility meeting. Now, we will have written reports of whatever components we picked. Those will be sent to families before this eligibility meeting so that they have an opportunity to review those. We go over those reports in detail, answer all the parents' questions, and then we have to go through some criteria worksheets. And those are based on information from the State Department. You can look at VDOE and they have them just on there, and that's what we base ours on also. And it's yes and no questions because this is special ed. We take it very seriously about finding a child eligible for special ed services, and we want to make sure we have good data and that we meet those criteria. Let me give you a little example of what a criteria worksheet may look like. It starts out with a definition. So like for developmental delay, it means a disability affecting a child ages 2 by September 30th through 6 inclusive. So that's the first part of that. So either a child is that or not that. So they fit in there. And then we say, is the child experiencing a developmental delay measured by an appropriate diagnostic instrument in any of the following areas? So we talk about, from our evaluations, is there a physical, are they showing a huge delay in their physical development, or their social emotional development, or their cognitive development, or their adaptive, or their communication, or is there a physical or medical condition that may result in that developmental delay? So those are yes or no questions, and we write down what we know about that child there and check the boxes that may be appropriate. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, we have to make sure that that language delay isn't based on something like limited English proficiency. So we have to be very aware of those things. But we also want to make sure it's not a result of cultural factors, such as they didn't understand what we were doing and asking of them, or environmental or economic disadvantage reasons. And then finally, the last question we have to ask, and this is probably one of what we feel is one of the most important ones, is the presence of one or more documented characteristics of a delay has an adverse effect on educational performance that makes it necessary for the student to have specially designed instruction to access and make progress in the general education activities for this group. So we're talking about playing blocks, playing with Play-Doh, being on a playground, things like that. So if it's true that the child is showing some of those delays, and we determine, yes, they have a disability, then we find them eligible for special education under whatever criteria worksheets we've completed. So some children may not be found eligible because everything looks pretty good. Other children could be found eligible just for a speech and language disability. Or others could have a more global, such as a developmental delay and a speech and language. So we can be pretty individualized depending on a child's needs. So we have a total, here are all the different disability categories, but I'll tell you, we really focus in a lot on that developmental delay just because children are so young that they can change an awful lot in those birth to 5 years. So all those evaluations and that eligibility, we have 65 days from a referral to complete those. And then if the child's eligible, we have to develop an individualized education plan, IEP for short, within 30 days of that meeting. So that's a straightforward document. It really consists of what we know about your child. So it has their present level, which includes their strengths, their concerns, their academic performance, which as we know is different for our little ones, and functional performance, all really important. We have to take into consideration a number of things, such as the current evaluation results, the parents' concerns, the communication needs of the students. Is English a second language? So we go through those considerations. And then from that, we draft some measurable annual goals and objectives as needed. And these really focus on some of those critical skills that child needs to develop to start participating more actively in age-appropriate activities and to start developing those early concepts that they're going to need to build upon as they move up into that kindergarten age area. Another thing we look at are adaptations and modifications that could support a student. And we don't see as many of these in preschool because we're pretty good at accommodating and modifying everything. But say a child is very low toned and doesn't have much trunk control, we may put in specialized seating. Or a child has significant issues with activity level, we may put in there where he needs a visual timer and a visual support schedule so that he knows what's expected of him. We have to address participation in state and division-wide assessments, which at our preschool level, they do not participate in. And then we talk about services. Special ed services and related services. And we talk about how much time those would happen each day and then how they're going to be provided. So examples of that could be if it's a child that's only eligible under speech and language impairment, that's their only area of delay, and they need speech therapy. Oftentimes that looks like a 30-minute therapy session once or twice a week in the schools. But if a child has a little bit more global delays that we feel needs more intense educational supports, then we have a continuum of services that we provide lots of different kinds of services for children. So we do some consultation, and we do that with some of our 4-year-olds that are in the early learning program. We do some home-based services where we go in the home, especially with some of those medically fragile children, or go into a private school and provide some consultative support there. We also have a number of preschool special education classrooms. And so in Henrico, we've really organized it well that we can group by age, which is helpful because 2- and 3-year-olds have very different developmental and educational needs than those 4-year-olds that are heading off to kindergarten. So we have preschool programs for 2s and 3s, and then we have preschool programs for 4-year-olds. We collaborate with our federal 4-year-old program, the Early Learning Program, and we share classrooms with them. We also have a partnership with a community-based childcare center. So there's lots of flexibility in the early childhood special ed program. We're able to really individualize, and they are fun places to be. So that's a broad, fast overview of some pretty heavy information. So I'm happy at any time to answer questions, love feedback, but I feel we have a really wonderful program, and we see great progress with our little ones. And so please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.